Hello everyone, it's Grandmaster Max Illingworth here to show you a really awesome game played by Greco with the black pieces. This is a game where Greco sacrifices not just a knight, but also a queen. So I'm sure you're going to really love this game. It was an Italian game with knight f3, knight c6. One thing to remember about these games played in the 17th century is they were played in the so-called romantic era of chess, where these kind of pawn sacrifices and piece sacrifices were the order of the day, and the key was not necessarily as much to win as beautifully as possible, hence the phrase romantic era. So white played castles kingside, black played knight f6, and if you've been following top-level chess all lately, you will probably know that the main move is to play d3 and go for this very solid setup with c3, and often you'll see white play the position very much like a Roy Lopez, but with the bishop on c4 rather than b5. In fact, I did a video on this recently in analysing the game between Vasher against Mamedyarov on my YouTube channel that you're watching here. And instead in the game, white played this move rook e1. If you're playing this as white, you'll probably also want to check what to do against d4 in your own time, where this is quite a tricky gambit by white. But in the game, white played rook to e1 in this position. And after castles, white's idea was to play c3 and try to push in the center with d4 and take control of the full center in this way. So here Greco didn't play the best move. So what do you think would be a better move for black in this case? So well done if you want to play the move knight takes e4, where if you've watched my fork trick video, you might have already seen this idea, with the point that rook e4 runs into d5. And then you have this annoying fork that just regains the piece with great interest. If white does try to counterattack with a move like d4 first, well, then we can play e takes d4, and then play the move bishop to b4. So after rook takes e4, we can play d5, the same fork we saw before. And after bishop takes d5 and queen takes d5, black is better here because he has the bishop pair, and also white has an isolated pawn that black will be in quite a good position to attack with moves such as potentially bishop g4 and rook d8 in the near future. So in the game, well, before I show the move in the game, I should point out that d5 was also not a bad move by black, with a similar idea to knight e4. But the best move was knight takes e4, and in the game, Greco played queen to e7. And the problem with queen e7 is that it doesn't really stop white's idea, where simply d4 is a very strong move. Probably black should retreat the bishop and accept that he's slightly worse here. But Greco played e takes d4, and it's one thing to keep in mind when you look at Greco's games that, yes, there are a lot of mistakes in these games, but they also have a lot of interesting tactics, and you can learn quite a lot from the tricks in them. So white played the move e5. Personally, I think I would probably go c takes d4 as white and just take over the center in this fairly simple way. But e5 is also quite a good move if white follows up correctly after knight to g4. So this is a position where I would say there's only really one good move for white in this position, and it might not be the move you think at first sight. So what do you think is the key move for white to get the advantage in this position? So pause the video and come back here when you've got your answer ready. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. And first of all, I'll show what was played in the game. White played the move c takes d4. And okay, if this was your move, then what is the response you're expecting? Now, if you're thinking, well, black has to move the bishop, then this looks all hunky-dory for white after kicking the black pieces around and using his dominant center. In fact, you often see a position like this in the archbishop attack if black plays one of the typical club player mistakes in that line. But what black can do here is he can use the exposed position of white's king to his advantage. Playing the move knight takes d4. So this is what happened in the game. Knight takes d4. And now queen h4 is very strong, where what white should have done here is played bishop to e3. Although even then, after queen h2 and queen h1, black will get 3 pawns for the piece, so already he has enough material compensation. But when you combine this with the fact that the white king is coming under a serious attack, this is a technically winning position for black. And I'd highly recommend that you play this position out in your own time against a friend or against a computer to test your ability in turning the attack into victory. So as it was, instead of bishop e3, white played the move knight to f3 instead. In that case, the h2 square is covered, but the f2 square is unprotected. Now, do you see how black checkmates in 3 from this position? So congratulations if you saw the full sequence. It's not that hard to see in that every move is very forcing. So I have queen takes f2. And here's the really beautiful move, where we can use the smothered mate concept with queen to g1. And it's beautiful every time you see it, where whichever way white takes, black played knight f2, and that was checkmate, just like that. So certainly a very attractive finish to this game for sure. And I think it's one thing about Greco's games is that they can really teach you a lot about how to attack. And you can really see how to sort of put pressure on the opponent and how to punish some typical mistakes at the junior and club level. Now, if we go back to the position after knight g4, now you're probably thinking, well, white should play some sort of intermediate move in this position. If white plays bishop to g5 here, it looks good, but the problem is that black can actually play this move of d takes c3, in fact ignoring the attack on the queen. Because after bishop e7, black can play bishop takes f2, king f1, and then c takes b2. And because of the threat to queen the pawn with the promotion, it'll actually be black who ends up in material after, say, knight c3, bishop takes e1, threatening a bishop takes c3 move as well. If white goes knight d5 and tries to be tricky, then, well, you can even play knight takes e7, knight takes e7 and king h8, and yeah, position is a bit crazy, where there is a threat of knight to e3, forking the king and queen, which is why white would play queen takes e1 here. And then after b takes e1, you also end up in this kind of crazy position after knight e3 and king e2 and knight c4, and maybe white is not necessarily losing just yet, because even though black has 2 rooks and a lot of pawns, white does have quite fast top development here, and it'll take off black as pieces out. So maybe white has some swindling chances, perhaps connected with going for some attack on the black king quite quickly. But it turns out white can do much better than this anyhow. If your idea was to play h3 in this position, well, I think in that case black can play knight takes e5 and kind of go for knight takes, and if white plays c takes d4 to win a piece, then black has a really nice tactic. So do you see the move that black should play in this position? So well done if you spotted the trick bishop takes d4. The point is that if white plays queen takes d4, else he's down a lot of material, black plays knight f3, and not only do you get the rook, but you're also taking the bishop on c1 on the next move, and that will give black a winning material advantage by far. So h3 is not really cutting it. So if you're not sure what the move is, the key move after knight g4 is to first play b4, and only then to play the move bishop to g5. And the key difference here is that now dc3 is not so effective, as there's no more cb2 and ba1 equals queen, as we saw in the other line. And if black plays queen e8, then white will simply take, and while black can grab a pawn, white's sort of initiative is going to considerably outweigh this fact. In fact, it's not even technically a pawn grab for black, because after knight b4, white can play h3, and after the knight retreats, you can take and play a pretty standard double attack with queen d2, and this is going to absolutely seal what black's fate in this position, with queen h6 and knight g5 to finish off the black king from there. So what if black tries to be tricky and tries a move such as knight takes f2? Well, in chess, a good rule of thumb is that we shouldn't make assumptions such as, well, white is forced to capture in this position. It turns out that rather than taking and allowing black to get several pawns for his piece and complicate the situation, we can play a very nice intermediate move in queen b3, avoiding this exchange while also keeping the threat to the black queen. And then after queen e8 and king takes f2, black won't get enough compensation for the piece here. If d takes c3, simply king f1 can be played. And then white can sort of just take and have a very dominant position because of his lead in development and his big space advantage in the center. So yeah, that was my explanation of the game between NN against Greco. I believe that these Greco games are ones that he wrote in a book, so they weren't sort of actual games but sort of illustrative examples. And I really believe that even today they're very good for teaching some typical tactical ideas and how to attack and how to punish typical mistakes at the junior and club level. So thank you very much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.